acceleratingcareers.com and acceleratingcareers.tv. I'm your host, Gary Ryan. This episode is titled High Performing Teams Tip Number 3. Access the power of team talk. Currently, the World Cup for soccer has just commenced over the past weekend. And what I love about a world event like the World Cup of Soccer is it really brings to the surface a lot of the issues that surrounds high-performing teams. Now, this episode isn't about just elite sport, it's about any team. So I'm going to be talking about the Australian World Cup soccer team who suffered an embarrassing 4-0 defeat to Germany in the first round, and how the power of team talk can really make a difference to the outcome for the Australian Socceroos. So right up front, I'm going to say, go Aussies, go Socceroos, we're still supporting you. But these lessons are important for any team at all. Now, what I'd like to talk about is this simple yet very effective model, is that any team needs to be conscious of the talk that's going on amongst the team in the locker rooms and out on the field, or in the office if it happens to be a corporate team. Because your team talk will impact on your team image, the image that you have of whether you're being successful or not. So could you imagine with the Australian Socceroos, after embarrassing the worst ever World Cup soccer defeat for the Australian soccer team of 4-0 versus Germany, could you imagine the possibilities of the negative self-talk that could be going on amongst the whole squad? They could be talking about, well, what if we lose to Ghana? It's all over. What will this mean for our reputations? Their focus can get very much on the outcome instead of saying focused on what they can control. And you see, if you have negative self-talk, it's amazing how that talk leads to a negative self-image which can affect your performance. And this happens at an individual level, but that's for a later personal success tip later on. So team talk can be really powerful. Of course, the flexibility and the power of team talk is to focus up this end, to focus on what is the language that we use. Do we use language of success? Do we use language of blame? Or do we use language of failure in terms of the language that we're using? Now, that's a really simple model, and just because the Socceroos team might start to talk more positively about itself doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to have the success it desires, which is where this second model kicks in. Because it's really, really important that any team has the work. You have to do the work. Now, it's not just any work, it has to be the right work. And only time will tell if the Australian Socceroos team has been doing the right work. But you also have to have self-belief, and that's where the team talk kicks in. If you don't have the self-belief, all the work in the world is not going to create the success that you desire. And then finally, as we've spoken before about personal success, you must have focus. Focus on what you can control. So they've got to focus on this kick now, this ball now, this effort now, this manning up now, this structure now, rather than getting focused on what happens according to the outcome. If they've got their systems and processes right, they've done the work, they've got the right self-belief, they've got the right self-talk and team talk amongst themselves, they give themselves every chance to create the success that they desire. Now, there's no guarantees, of course, but if you've got negative self-talk creating a negative self-image, I can pretty much guarantee that it will create a negative result. Henry Ford, I believe, got it right when he said, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right either way. Now, these very same principles are absolutely applicable to organisational teams, not just elite sport teams. The only difference is with elite sport, the results are a lot more immediate. So the challenge for you is, what's the language of success around your organisation? Or is it a language of blame? How do teams talk about themselves? Try to get your teams to speak much more positively about the success that they desire, and then focus on what you can control. Now, if you're in the first 10 years of your career, I really encourage you to check out What Really Matters for Young Professionals, How to Master 15 Practices to Accelerate Your Career. Both the ebook and the online course are currently available, and we're just a few weeks away from the release of the physical book for that program. Once again, I'm Gary Ryan. I really, really, really enjoy working with you. Keep your team talk positive, keep your work focused, and achieve the results that you desire. I look forward to working with you next time.